Hello again, my MMA true believers. I'm Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I'm joined by a man that is so cool, he could be thought of as like the little sweet of the UFC for you Dr. Pepper fans out there. Now, in June, he scored his first win in the promotion in 32 seconds, and now on September 12th, he will aim for a second straight when he faces off with the number 9 ranked flyweight in Matt Schnell, and that man is Tyson Nam. Mr. Nam, thanks for the time to talk this upcoming fight.
Always a pleasure.
Now, in June, you finally scored your first victory inside the octagon, like I just mentioned. Now, the opponent was a short notice change, which really has become, unfortunately, like an all too common occurrence now in this pandemic world we live in. I have no doubt you've had this happen a few times during your 13-year career before you even got to the UFC. But how much did you get to scout Adeshev and in those few days before the fight? And did the matchup seem like even more favorable than your original opponent in Ryan Benoit?
Well, I've seen a couple of YouTube clips. Heard down from the grapevine that he was a very good kickboxer. I want to say maybe a champion in Glory Kickboxing, which is very reputable.
Yep.
So when I was looking at his stats, I mean, same stature, kind of a little bit shorter, a little bit wider, but heavy on the striking. And I thought, yeah, it's pretty similar to what we thought Ryan Benoit was going to do. So why not? I mean, I'm at the airport already when they actually told me. So it's very like there's no turning back. I wanna fight somebody.
Yeah.
So my better somebody than nobody.
I've interviewed Ike Villanueva before both of his fights in the UFC, and he was another guy that had a long road to get to the UFC like you did too. He still has not gotten that first UFC win yet. How big of a deal was it to get that first win inside the octagon on like a mental level, on a confidence level, and to do it by showing off like the power in your hands that has been like the signature throughout your career? Is it a kind of moment where, not to say you don't feel like a full-fledged UFC fighter, but until you get that win, do you not really feel like I'm fully a UFC fighter until you get that win?
Yeah, no, it was huge. I mean, to me, if I already had two losses in a row,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that maybe I might have been getting a phone call anytime soon after the
Yeah,
second loss that I
yeah.
might be out. So to get a third shot was very a blessing to me. And to get that knockout win in the UFC that I've been doing overseas internationally was huge because people in Brazil know me, people in Russia, Kazakhstan, they know me, but wasn't too familiar to the folks here in the US,
Mm-hmm.
which now they should know me. So I'm a well-traveled man, and I'm just happy that I got to show my home country what I actually do overseas.
Adeshev missed weight and you ended up getting 20% of his purse. That extra 20% was along with your performance bonus that you got. Did that make June 13th maybe the pinnacle moment of your career to date? Because you get the 23-second knockout, your first win in the UFC, keep your spot in good standing, like you mentioned. Just, it was close after two losses, and bank your biggest overall payday yet as a pro fighter. Is that the shining moment that you have to look to eclipse now?
Huge. I mean, to get your fight check, your win check, performance of the night check, plus a little bit of your opponent's check. I mean, it's life changing. It's life changing. Just it's it's almost a shame that I'm here on lockdown. I can't really
Mm,
spend it right now.
yeah,
Maybe some steak and shrimp.
yeah.
I could spend it on right now, but maybe after everything lifts up, maybe I'll spend it somehow.
And I remember I talked to you before your UFC debut, and I talked about, what's the plans when you start making this UFC money. You told me you're going to keep doing the job you had, nothing's going to change with that. But now that you get that first performance bonus, that first 50K, is there kind of any grand plans for it? Is it just like, oh, it's just going straight into investments? Oh, I'm going to buy or start a business or something like that with it? Or I need a new car? Was there any plans for it, or is it just going to go stay away for the future?
Well, since my last fight, Since the pandemic, I was out of a job, so I was actually just
Oh,
training full time. So I
wow.
didn't really like that job. And you know what? I think I'm gonna keep it that way. So plans have changed. I don't need to work.
All
And
right.
no, so I'm making this full time just because at the same time I have no choice but
Ah, yeah.
just to do this at the same time. But I guess things have been working in my favor. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'll just keep on doing this. Um, I don't really need a new car. I don't really need fancy things. I mean, the things that I do every day is just work out every day. So maybe some new workout shoes or something of that sort. But I do like seeing that bank account keep on growing. And
Does
maybe later on, maybe a little bit later on, maybe I'll invest in something.
fair enough. Does that win take off any pressure you felt in that the last fight, like you mentioned, you worried about after two losses, stuff like that, and to avoid losing a third straight in UFC, or is there still an added pressure because if you come up short against Matt in this fight, you go to 1-3 in the company, which still isn't the greatest number that you want to have when you're working through things, and they are adding new fighters freaking every week now into Contender Series, so anybody on the cusp has to worry about that kind of stuff. Do you have to pretty much always think your job is on the line until you like crack off 3 or 4 or two, or at least 2 wins in the UFC? You always have to have that mentality of, look, I'm always back against the wall until I start getting a winning streak going.
I'm not a superstar in the UFC, so I feel like my job is I'm very expendable.
Mm.
Um, but as of right now, my first two UFC fights, I don't really know if a lot of people knew, but I actually was a little bit injured up in those two fights, so I
Okay.
wasn't able to perform at the best of my abilities. But now that I'm healthy and just training full time, the types of performances that I'm going to be putting out is exactly like the ones that you guys seen me do up in June. Um, but yeah, a lot of weight has been lifted off my shoulders because I finally got the win how I wanted to win
Right.
in the biggest promotion. But at the same time, that that's not where it ends for me. I want to get this number 9 spot and keep on climbing ranks and keep on showing that I am a top 10 contender, maybe a top 5, top 3, maybe. I feel like I'll do very well against whoever the champion may be when Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt face off.
Speaking of number line, so interestingly enough, after your win, you specifically called for a fight with Matt Schnell. Was that call out because he's ranked, like you mentioned, at number 9, or has he been a guy on your radar for a long time as an observer of the sport, as a person in the sport, and you like the styles clash that comes in this fight, and kind of hope to get to trade with him one day in the octagon anyway?
Yeah, anybody with a number on their spot is on top of my radar.
Mm.
Just so happened when I was looking at the lineup that fight week, he did not have a scheduled opponent. So, and I mean, I don't feel like I had the right to call out a top 5 guy
Mm.
coming off of just that win. So I might as well start from the top and then work my way down.
Now, you also mentioned in that post fight, you felt you got outpointed in your 2 UFC losses, and that's adding on to what you mentioned before that you weren't even healthy all the way either, or at least 100%. Now, not outskilled, not beat up in those fights. Matt is a gamer, but he's also clever. He's also smart. He could very well try and follow a similar game plan as Pettis and Cara France did against you. In your mind, does he have the skill set to try and follow their strategy? And if he attempts to, have you made adjustments since those fights to avoid a similar scenario, or was the outpointing that you mentioned part of just not being fully healthy?
Well, I have I've worked on a lot of things. I mean, during this pandemic, just because that's all there is to do
Yeah.
is try and fix the weaknesses in the game. Um, I was not able to show that in June just because it only took 30
Mm-hmm.
32 seconds to finish off my opponent. But if it may go a little bit longer than 30 seconds, come September 12th, you guys might see a little bit more of the skills that I've been working on.
Could you
Uh,
could you say a couple of them that without maybe giving away too much strategy or stuff like that? Things that you saw in the Pettis and Kai Kara fights, so you're like, Okay, I'm at the highest level. That wasn't a problem before. It needs to be addressed now. Are there a few of them that you can say that like that was things you were working on?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to just take somebody's head off. I got
Ah,
over anxious. I
yeah.
was throwing one punch at a time. I wasn't really set. I was just so hungry to get a knockout
Mm.
against the number 5 and the number 7 guy that I kind of just went over my what I should have been doing. Setting things up,
Yeah.
and I don't. I felt like I kind of pulled. I feel like I should have won against Kai Kara France. I don't feel like I got outpointed too much. I mean, definitely against Pettis, he touched me more times than I touched him. But I feel like I should have won a decision. But you're never going to get a decision against a New Zealand guy in New Zealand.
Very true. Flyweight is such a wide open division, and guys can make big leaps in and up the rankings because of this. To face the number 9 flyweight, like I mentioned, is there like an added excitement that damn, boom, I go in there, I beat Matt Schnell, I beat him impressively. Shit, I'm number 7 the next day. Is that an added excitement to this fight? Similar to those fights, there's this division you could just make big leaps and get into title contention very quickly.
Yeah, I always wanted a number next to my name. When I fought knocked out Ali Bagutinov, he was the former number 1 UFC
Mm-hmm.
contender. So when I knocked him out, I was kind of screaming in the cage that I'm the number 10 flyweight, even though I'm I'm not number 10 just because
Yeah.
I wasn't in the UFC at the time.
Yeah.
But to me, in my eyes, Ali was definitely a number 10 flyweight at that time, especially the types of supplements he was able to take in his home
Mm.
country in Russia. So to me, I feel like I'm a top 10 flyweight, and I just need to go out there and knock out Schnell and take that number from him.